So we'll start with the next verse, mantra 15. That mantra 15 describes how is the highest manifestation, how Bhagavan is the highest manifestation of the absolute truth. We come into the last section of 4 verses. We will first look at the section overview that, yes, that's here. So, a recap of what we went through. We got the invocation. The first 3 verses was about Isavasya principle. What is that principle and how to live in harmony, how to avoid what prevents us to live in harmony and accept what's the benefits, what helps us to live in harmony. And then we have discussed in 5 verses how to develop spiritual vision. We have heard about the spiritual vision of the Mahabhagavat, the most advanced devotee. That we discussed 3 levels of devotees and how to make spiritual progress to develop the spiritual vision, to see Krishna everywhere in the world, everywhere in this world. And then we spoke about right and wrong knowledge for understanding Ishvara. And we went to 3 verses, and then we discussed right and wrong practice. So these elements, right and wrong vidya and right and wrong upasana of worship, that's our sadhana. Developing knowledge, hearing about Krishna, remembering, and speaking about Krishna. That is the development of this transcendental vidya, the Mahavidya. And the right and wrong upasana or worship, the Sambuddha and the Asambuddha, which we discussed in 3 verses, is our worship, our practice of devotional service. So that's our sadhana. But we don't need only sadhana, we need also mercy. And therefore, to get that mercy, we have these prayers here at the end. So this is not a factor, mercy. We offer Krishna's our worship in knowledge, and we receive Krishna's mercy. So our endeavor is cultivating knowledge about Ishvara and worshipping Ishvara. Then there are prayers to Ishvara, in which is prayed here in this last section, please reveal me to you. And there are 2 sets of verses, 15 and 16, which we will discuss now one after another, and 17 and 18, which we will discuss between 4 and 6. So in mantra 15 to 16, it's an appeal to take one beyond Brahman to Bhagavan. We will learn between the material world and the spiritual world is Brahman. Brahman, what is Brahman? Krishna says, Brahmano ipratishtanam amritasya avyapyayasya cha. It's the last verse of the 14th chapter. Krishna says, Brahman depends on me. That in the seventh Krishna said, nobody can exhaust me. So Brahman is not greater. It depends on Krishna. And we will hear what Brahman means here in these verses. We will understand the nature of Brahman. And then, when Krishna takes his Brahman effulgence away, then we are beyond this white, brilliant light, and we will be able to see the Supreme Person. So, between us and Krishna, there are two coverings. The material Maya, and there is the Brahman effulgence. That if we are liberated, we come in the Brahman effulgence, but then we don't see Krishna yet. We have to go purify ourselves more deeply to go beyond it. And by his mercy, he reveals himself. That's the question, yeah? Paramatma? Paramatma, we will learn in Bhagavad Gita. Paramatma is a controller of material nature. It's an expansion of Krishna. Is Krishna in this material world, who is in our heart?
Should ask Paramatma if Paramatma allows us to go on somehow, just in between, to go from the material to the spiritual world.
No.
So that's nothing.
No, Paramatma is Krishna in our heart. He's in every atom, Paramatma. It's all pervading. It's an expansion of Krishna. But if we want to find Paramatma in our heart, we must also go beyond Brahman, purify ourselves. So that's Krishna's inconceivable abilities, not only in the spiritual world, it's right here in every atom. So when we perceive the Supreme Person, then we know he's supremely merciful. Those are the last verses. And then we pray for him to remove all obstacles. So mantra 15 here is a prayer for mercy. We go back to the mantra. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So this verse has been quoted many times by Prabhupada. Iranmanyena patrena Satyasapi hitam mukam Tattvam pushan apavrinu Satya dharmaya tristaye Iranmayena by golden effulgence, Patrena by dazzling covering, Satyasya of the supreme truth, Apihitam covered, Mukham the face, that covering, Tvam yourself, Usam, O sustainer, Apavrino, kindly remove, Satya, pure, Dharmaya, and to the devotee, Kristaye, for exhibiting. O my Lord, sustainer of all that lives, your real face is covered by your dazzling effulgence. Kindly remove that covering and exhibit yourself to your pure devotee. Please repeat, O Lord, O my Lord,
O my Lord,
sustainer of all that lives,
sustained possibilities.
Your real face is covered by your dazzling effulgence.
Your face is covered with the best and heart,
Kindly remove that covering
and remove the cover,
and exhibit yourself to your pure devotee.
and exit the front of the beautiful.
So this verse shows that the personal aspect of the absolute truth is a higher reality than the impersonal Brahman. So the dazzling effulgence is not the supreme reality. Brahman is dazzling effulgence is not the supreme reality. It is the personal form having a face that is described here in the Sri Isopanisad. That we go back to our 15. Strange. Yes. Oh, I tried to get it on the screen right. Doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Okay. So now this is what we find in the. So this is what we find in the purport of Srila Prabhupada. He speaks about Pushan. Krishna is the base of Brahman and Paramatma. In paragraph 2 to till 5 says Satya Dharmaya Dristaye. How Krishna reveals himself beyond the Brahman. And then how the ultimate revelation of Bhagavan comes only by Bhakti. Normally we refer to the word Pushan as to one who provides light, air, water, etc. So a maintainer. Srila Prabhupada takes it here a little deeper, the meaning. It makes a point that Krishna is the source of Paramatma and Bhagavan. Bhagavan is the ultimate revelation. The Srila Prabhupada describes how Bhagavan is the ultimate revelation of everything. Sankhya and Jnana is slightly related, but are different. Sankhya refers to counting. In Sankhya, the spiritual seeker starts analyzing the world around him and starts thinking, what is the material world made out? And he's asking, what is the source of this? He moves to the fundamental elements. We see a puri. A puri is made of atta, this means flour, and oil. If atta and oil comes before us, we don't want to eat it. When it's cooked and come together, it becomes attracted, right? If we go back to the ingredients, then that will not become so attractive to us. So the seeker likes to look beyond. There's a variety of elements Krishna describes in the 7th 4, Bhumi Rapanala Varakam, Anamudrip Shankar, Ityame, Prakatibini, Asta Prakatibini, Astata. There are 8 separate material elements: earth, air, ether, fire, water, mind, intelligence, force, evil. So, but the seeker tries here to look beyond. If we look deeper, then we become detached from the good-looking appearance that the atheistic Sankhya is not authorized by the scriptures. The only authorized Sankhya in the scriptures is the one from Kapila, the son of Devahuti, in the 3rd canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. That when Sankhya arises, when we understand these elements, then we want to go deeper to the spiritual, which is beyond the elements. And we want to realize the absolute truth to be the eternal spirit. When it's realized in the Satchidananda aspect of the absolute truth. So the absolute truth is Satchidananda. There's a Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Paramakrishna Sakshananda, Vihram, Anadhirada Govinda, Sarvakarana Karana. This is the first verse of the Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Paramakrishna. The superior controller of everything, the Ishvara, is Krishna. And he is Satchidananda Vihara, Satchitananda. So when a person, a seeker, has only the Sat aspect of the absolute truth, the eternal aspect, he sees Brahman. But later, when one sees that the absolute truth controls material nature, then Sat-Chit, partial Chit comes, higher transcendental knowledge. And one sees Paramatma. And when one sees a Puri, then there is a perception of the fragrance and the sight. But it's nice to see it, and it's nice to smell it, but what is important, the taste. And the taste is the Bhagavan aspect. Okay. But if the Jnana aspect only, oh, what's happening here? This should go. The Jnana aspects, in the Jnana aspect, one sees the absolute truth without potencies. No potencies. When we use pure consciousness, we mean that this consciousness is a consciousness without lust, anger, greed, madness, illusion, greed, yeah. That without material contamination. But impersonalists mean with pure consciousness that there is only consciousness. Only consciousness, impersonalist. We are the observers, and there is the act of observation. There is a subject, relation, and object. The stream of consciousness flows from the subject to the object. For the impersonalist, there is no subject, there is no object, there is only pure consciousness. Consciousness alone does not explain where illusion is coming from. If there is no subject or object of consciousness, then there is nothing to be conscious of. It is only an abstract visualization. So when there is an object and a subject, then there is no flow of consciousness. Flow of consciousness means action. Otherwise, there is no action. So Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan is one way of analyzing, but through the path of Jnana, one comes to Brahman realization. But through the path of yoga, one comes to Paramatma realization. And with Jnana, one gains an understanding of the spiritual, but one cannot realize it. So the Paramatma is the governing principle and overseer, the Bhakta, Bhakta, Maheshvara, the Anumanta, the overseer and the permitter. Bhakta, Bhakta, Maheshvara. Upadastana Mantacha, Bhakta, Bhakta, Maheshvara, Paramitme Sapyura Deismin Purushapara. So this verse said, yes, yet in this body there is another transcendental enjoyer, which is the Lord, the Supreme Proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the Supersoul. So only Paramatma is Desmin Purushaparam. Only Paramatma is transcendental to this world. The spirit soul is entangled in this world. For the super soul, to function as the controller of material energy requires enormous potencies. The powers of Indra are insignificant compared to the potency of Paramatma. The conception of the spiritual world is not there in their philosophy. So now the understanding is that there is not just consciousness that is impure, but there is an understanding that is different from contaminated consciousness. There is a supreme consciousness that oversees the material world. So Krishna is interacting with the gopis. There is spiritual reciprocation between object and subject, and that is not understood via yoga. You cannot understand via yoga. The yogis perceive those whose end is not known by anyone. So that is the absolute truth that is perceived by the yogis through dhyan, meditation. At the level of the Bhagavan realization, one focuses on the absolute truth as a transcendental personality with material and spiritual potencies. So Bhagavan is only perceived by Bhakti, Satchidananda. So Krishna is a supreme being having material and spiritual potencies. His spiritual potencies is Ladini Sakti. It has two functions, to experience joy, and Ladini, through the Ladini Sakti, Krishna nourishes his devotees. So there is Satchidananda there, and this Ladini Sakti allows Krishna to reciprocate in love. Mother Yasoda, by Yoga Maya, is able to forget that Krishna is God. Therefore, she thinks Krishna is my son. Therefore, she develops a more intense love. So how come someone being a courageous coward? It doesn't make sense. Maya disconnects us from Krishna, but Yoga Maya is the divine energy that increases yoga. So we will hear that in the Bhagavad Gita 9:14, 9:13, 9:14. Matman stumampata, Matmanam stumampo parta, Devim pragati, Ashrita. The Mahatmas take shelter of the divine energy of this Ladini Sakti. And how do they do that? 9:14. Satatam kirtayantomam. Kirtan. Satatam always. They always do kirtan. Glorifying the Supreme Lord. And by that they connect with this Ladini Shakti, which is under control of Srimati Radharani. So they take sort of Srimad Radharani. That's a further esoteric explanation. It enables the devotee to feel greater and greater attraction for Krishna. So when the Lord covers his potency and then acts as a child, and then the devotees can relish parental rasa. So he brings devotees in spiritual illusion, but they forget that he's God. Krishna, in Vaikuntha, doesn't feel so happy. Everyone praised him. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But he wants also sometimes be chastised by his devotees and, and have different relationship, subordinate relationship in love. And that is organized by this Yoga Maya. That how can one forget that Krishna is God through illusion? But Yashoda Maya is under a Maya that increases yoga, increases connection with Krishna, more intense love. She tells Krishna that Krishna, stealing is bad. That it's so intense that and nobody can break that intense love. Uddhava was sent to Vrindavan. Uddhava was sent to Vrindavan because Krishna had promised to go back to Vrindavan, but he could not go back. He was in Mathura and Jarasandha could attack every moment, so he could not leave. He sent Uddhava with letters and he met first, Uddhava met first with Mother Yasoda and Nanda Maharaj. And he saw Mother Yasoda was always crying with her eyes closed. And Nanda Maharaj had his head down. And Uddhava was thinking, they are suffering too much of separation from Krishna. And because they are too attached to Krishna. If I can bring their attachment down, they will suffer less. So he told Nanda Maharaj, Krishna is not really your son. He's a super soul in everyone's heart. He's all pervading. It's the source of the creation. That is a supreme person. That was the reply of Nanda Maharaj. He said, oh, Uddhava, I forgive you. You are much younger than me. And I know Gargamuni has said, yes, that your son will be as good as Narayan, but he's not Narayan. Narayan is Satya Sankalpa, he's always truthful, but my Krishna is expert in lying. And Narayan never becomes angry, but when we don't feed him in time, he becomes angry. And I know Narayan. We are worshipping Narayan as our Salagram Shila every day. But Krishna is not Narayan. Anyway, that was his reply. So that is this yoga, Maya, this Ladini Shakti. So we have, so we discussed that. Yeah. Anyway, how it leads. So Sankhya means we want to go beyond the material appearance. Looking at the elements and understanding we are not these elements. That yeah. That's so you have the reference of Bhagavad Gita where you find Sankhya 7:4-7. As the first Bhumirapanala Kama Mudriv. So the 8 elements of material nature. And in the next verse, Krishna says, Apariyamitis from Manye, but beyond these material elements, there is the spirit soul, which is fighting, which is trying to exploit material nature. That,
Beautiful question. There is the meaning that the process to Bhakti from Sankhya, when it leads to from Sankhya when it leads to Bhakti, this other process.
yeah, and this, I will first tell the whole story in my own words. You will hear them in Bhagavad Gita also. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks about karma kanda. That's the lowest. Karma kanda is no yoga process. Does not belong there. It's a process to get sense gratification in the material world or in a pious way, according to the scriptures. That's why the conditioned soul comes to this world, right? But this karma kanda, like I explained, sometimes they go up to the heavenly planets, they come back and so on. But if it elevates them to goodness, gradually, after many births, they come to goodness. And in goodness, they start to think, who am I? And then they get interest in spirituality, how to get out. And the first step is Sankhya. They start to analyze what is this material world and what is beyond. And then they come to the conclusion, I'm different from these elements. I'm different from this body. I'm not this head. I'm not this arm. That I'm different. Who am I? And then they go into Jnana. Jnana means the study of Vedanta. That they study, they have understood I'm Brahman, Ham Brahmasmi, and they try to understand the difference between matter and spirit, and then they understand I'm spirit, and they want to renounce everything. They do tapasya. They say, I'm not this body, so I want to give up all this sense gratification and this attachment to this world. And that's a very troublesome process. The impersonalists follow that. Therefore, when Lord Chaitanya met Prakashananda Sarasvati, the Mayavadi impersonalist leader of Benares, then Varanasi, Prakashananda Sarasvati said, why are you chanting and dancing sentimentally? You, as a sannyasi, you took sannyas from Keshava Bharati, an impersonalist, that it, between brackets, and that you should study Vedanta and not be sentimental. You should study the difference between matter and spirit and renounce everything. That and realize you are Brahman. But yes, they try to renounce, very difficult. But then they realize, I'm spirit. I want to experience to be spiritual. I want to experience the existence of being a spirit soul. And then they take to yoga, the next step, after many births. And they practice yoga, Astanga yoga, which has 8 stages. Niyam, yam, follow things to do, things not to do. We also do that, nectar of instruction. First 2, 3 things to do, things not to do. But before starting yoga, if you want to enter a yoga ashram, then you must give up sex life. You must be celibate. Married people don't get entrance to the yoga. That's not possible. You must be celibate, renounce everything. That's the yam and the niyam, and then asham, sitting postures, and then pranayam. Try control the mind by pressing the nose. Prabhupada says that first inhale at the right, pressing here, inhale, holding your breath as long as possible, and then the other side, out. And that you repeat in the beginning, so many things. But then that is pranayam. By that, pranayam makes the mind more controlled. And then they go into dharan. Yeah, they go into pratyahara. They go inside. Shut all the senses and the contact with the world out, and they go inside dharan, pratyahara, and then dharan. There's a pre-state of meditation, and then they come to dhyan, meditation, and finally samadhi in one lifetime, if it makes happen, may happen. And then they experience the bliss of the soul. The bliss of the soul is described in the realization that soul described in Bhagavad Gita 6:27 or something. 6. Well, I think so. Give me a moment. It's 2023. In the stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind. Then you see the soul. And to realize and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Sounds good, huh? Established thus, one never departs from the truth. Upon gaining this, it thinks that there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This is indeed actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. Anyway, there's much more to say about the yogis, but what is the purpose of yoga? Yoga, 6-7 Bhagavad Gita. Citatmana, prasantasma, paramatma smaita. The real purpose of yoga is to control the mind and become peaceful, and then find the super soul in the heart. But the most yogis don't get that, come to that stage. It's too high. And it takes many, many lifetimes. Arjuna said to Krishna, I cannot do that. It's not practical. There's nothing for me. It's like controlling this mind is like trying to control the wind. And Prabhupada writes and says in a lecture, Arjuna is 1,000 times more qualified than all of us. So, but would we be able to do it? No. That maybe some in a 2-3 persons or so, a handful can do it in the Himalayas, but most people cannot do it. So that's the yoga. But of course, I forgot one stage. That is karma yoga. You have karma kanda. That's not the yoga system. Then karma yoga. Karma Yoga. First, before you come to Jnana, usually you do Karma Yoga to become renounced, to work without attachment to the results. Krishna is not there, just doing work without asking something in return. And that purifies somewhat your intelligence. And then you ask the question, who am I? Certainly that's a stage that's in between. So these are the yogas explained in Bhagavad Gita. Karma Yoga, Sankhya Yoga or Jnana Yoga, Astanga Yoga, and Buddha and Krishna consciousness, or Buddha Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. That's it's also called Buddha Yoga.
When I was reading the Bhagavad I was always wondering, like how Buddha Yoga is translated to Bhakti Yoga, and
I will explain that in the third chapter. That if I have to go into it now, better to do that next week. And because the point is that Karma Yoga can be seen on different levels. There are different levels of Karma Yoga. And in the highest level, it becomes Buddha Yoga or Krishna consciousness. But I will explain that in detail. But I need 20 minutes, and I don't want to take 20 minutes now for something I'm going to say next week. That's not good. Okay? Yeah. So, good, because the Bhagavad Gita is a story. And I have to tell you what comes before and after to get understanding of that word of Buddha Yoga. That definitely takes too long. We come back to that. So in other words, the Lord has his energies in Sankhya. Go back to Sankhya. The Lord has his energies, are described in Bhagavad Gita 7.4. The material energy is not an independent reality. Often this whole analysis is done within a non-theistic context. The analysis of material nature. Many scientists see material nature and see a connection with a supreme creator. There are scientists. So Krishna takes Sankhya, the Sankhya framework, and explains how it can be seen in a theistic framework in Bhagavad Gita 7.4 and so on. In this way, the perception of material energy can lead to bhakti if we connect it with Krishna. And that's what the Bhagavatam does, especially in the first four cantos, connecting the creation with Krishna. So all jnana leads to Bhagavan. When a person becomes truly jnanavan, that's the verse, Bhaunam jnanamante, Vaseva Savamiti Samadna Sudurlava, Vaseva Savamiti Samadna Sudurlava. Bhaunam jnanamante, jnanman man papachate, Vaseva Savamiti Samadna Sudurlava. Is 419 is on the screen here, jnana. All jnana leads to Bhagavan. When a person becomes truly jnanavan, he comes to understand that Bhagavan is Vasudeva Savamiti. He is the all-pervading Lord. He is a person and he's all-pervading at the same time. Then the person surrenders unto me, Krishna says. So that takes many lifetimes for these jnanis to come to that. There are all stages in the spiritual realization, but the problem is that they set their own goals on their level. The jnanis, they want to merge with Brahman, and the yogis most also want to merge with Brahman or get mystic power. that it's not, mostly the yogis are not striving for Paramatma realization. Only the true yogis. Yeah. And karma yoga, they want also to come to liberation. But one who understands that Krishna is the source of everything and is all pervading is very rare. Such a person is called a Mahatma in Bhagavad Gita. The process of Jnana, one sees the absolute truth as Brahman in Jnana. That's their goal, Brahman. Yoga, the goal is Paramatma. Karma yoga, like I said, is on different levels. That I can tell you in summary, karma yoga, karmani vatakasti maflish kadachan. You do your work without being attached to me. So Krishna is not there. That's the lowest. The next level of karma is Chaknarta karma nuyatra, lopyas karma bandhana, 3-9 Bhagavad Gita. That 3-9. You do your work as a sacrifice to me. It means the result is not, you are not attached to the result because you give the result to me. That's a higher level. That you work during the day and you don't think of Krishna, but you know, I give the result to Krishna at the end. That's the next level of karma yoga. And then the next level of karma is yat karos, yat yasnas, yat yos, dadas, yat tapasyas, yat tat krishna madakunam. Whatever you do, whatever you give away, whatever austerity you do, not arpanam, do it as an offering to me. That's the third level of karma yoga. You do the work itself for Krishna, not only the result, the work itself. And then the next level of karma yoga is Patram Pushpa Plantam Yomi Bhaktya Parachati. You offer Krishna water, a leaf, and so on, a flower, out of love. You do everything out of love for Krishna. And then karma yoga becomes Krishna consciousness, or Buddhi yoga. Buddhi yoga. That's using one's intelligence with full knowledge of Krishna. With the knowledge that Krishna is the cause of everything. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I'm his servant. That knowledge you must have. And you must have the knowledge how to please Krishna. And that is out of love. Then it becomes Buddhi yoga or Krishna consciousness. That. And Prabhupada, in the Bhagavad Gita, he does not consider these lower levels of karma yoga. He immediately points out karma yoga means bhakti yoga, the highest. That is the real karma yoga. And he equates karma yoga with Krishna consciousness. And that is the point. And we will go deeper that next week. So, but then the point is these jhanis, when they become Brahman realized, and they are not Mayavadis, because then their conscience is still impure. Why is the conscience of Mayavadis still impure? What is a material desire? I want to control, I want to be the controller. The Mayavadis want to become one with Brahman, to become God, to control everything. Can you have a bigger material desire than becoming God. So they are impure, these Mayavadis. The Brahmavadis, these are the real impersonalists. When their heart becomes pure, what happens? They become like Sukadev Goswami, he was a Brahmavadi. When they hear about Krishna, because their heart is pure, they become automatically attracted. So they have given up all attraction to the material world, and they become attracted again. It means there must be a higher pleasure. That higher pleasure is Bhakti. That just Atma, they are called Atmarams. Atmarams become attracted to Krishna. Atmarama Samunya Nishyanta Apyokame. They perform pure devotional service. That so this is the verse 1:7-10 in the Gita, in the Bhagavatam, first canto. Atmarama Samunayo Nishyanta Apyokame Kurvantahait Kim Bhaktim Itam Buddha Gunohari. All different varieties of Atmarams, especially those established on the path of self-realization, that are freed from all kinds of material bondage, desire to render unalloyed devotional service unto the personality of Godhead. It means that the Lord possesses transcendental qualities and therefore can attract everyone, included liberated souls. So when there is a person who is fabulously wealthy, and one becomes attracted to that person, the example is Atmarama Munayu. Such persons have no attachment to the material world. Atmaram and Nihranti, still, they want Bhakti to Urkama. Urkama is name of Vamandev, which took 3 steps. That Urkama, because that Supreme Lord must possess something that no one else possesses. That means what attracts them is not material. The Jnanis, when they become attracted to the Lord, they become pure devotees. Of course, we have the stories of Sukadev Goswami, the story of the 4 Kumaras who went up to the gate of Vaikuntha, and then for the first time they saw Lord Narayan and were smelling the fragrance coming from the tulsi flowers over to the lotus feet of the Lord, and their mind changed and they became devotees. That's stories in the Bhagavatam, that Tasya Ravindanayana Padara Vinda Kinchalkamisya Tulasima Kandivayum Antarghatasva Pivarena Sakaratation Sexo Brahm Akshara Susamma Pisitratamba. When the breeze carrying the aromas of tulsi leaves from the toes of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead entered the nostrils of these sages, 4 Kumaras, they experienced a change in both body and in mind, even though they were attached to the impersonal Brahman understanding. So that is the Vasudeva Sarvam iti. Varnam Kyanam Kyanavanam Te Kyanavama Pravachate Vasudeva Sarvam iti Samatma Sudolava 719 Bhagavad Gita. So similarly, the process of yoga, so this is the Jnanis coming to Bhakti. It's very rare. Mostly they don't if they are. But also, similarly, yoga can lead to Bhakti. In the process of yoga, one focuses on the super soul. But then one realizes that this super soul is an expansion of Krishna. Krishna will perform pastimes with his devotees. So, yes, that's this evolution from Paramatma to Bhagavan we find in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. 6th chapter, 6:14. Yeah, this is the process here described of yoga. The whole practice of yoga is described there, and at the end, it's described Yoginam Apasarvan Matchandradnam Pachampas Pachateyo Mam Sami Yuktatamam Matam. The highest yogi is a yogi who is united, is intimately united with me in the heart, in love. That, they fall in love with Paramatma. That then they become devotees. Although through karma, one can come to bhakti. So how one comes to karma, from karma to bhakti, I've just explained before. I'm not going to explain that again. So when one is on the road at night and is suddenly exposed to light coming from a truck at the other side, then there is a blinding effect. So the darkness blinds one, but also light can blind. In the material world, there is blindness due to darkness. When one suddenly comes from the darkness into the light, then the light is so bright that one gets blinded. Because of the lights themselves, one can see. The Lord's effulgence is blinding. This mantra is a prayer to the absolute truth to take one beyond the blindness caused by the brightness of the ultimate Bhagavan revelation. He is the ultimate aspiration of all spiritual beings, is the last word in transcendence. So this blindness, that it's interesting. We have in this material world, we have the sun, right? The sun is very bright. You cannot look in it. But where is the sun, that light from the sun come from? It is the light of the sun is a reflection of Krishna's Brahman effulgence. A reflection only. So you can think this Brahman effulgence. Yeah. The Vaikuntha planets give light. It is like thousands suns rising at the same moment. It's such difficult to understand that. So text 16, that prayers to the absolute truth culminate in devotional service. Pushanikashi Samasurya Bhatshapacha Yuha, yeah. Yuya Rasmin Samuha Teho Yate Rupam Kalyanatamam Tate Pasamiyo Shap Asapusha Suham Asmi Pushan, O maintainer, Ekarishe, the primeval philosopher, Yama, the regulating principle, Surya, the destination of the Suryas, the great devotees, Pachapatya, the well-wisher of the Prajapatis, progenitors of mankind, centers of man, yeah. Vyuha,
Vyuha,
kindly remove.
and
Rasmin,
Ashmin,
the race.
Ray,
Samua,
Samura,
kindly withdraw. Teja,
Teja,
effulgence.
Apollo,
Yat, so that
so that
te, your, rupam, om, kalyanatamam, most auspicious, that te, yo, pashami, I may see, yeah, one wish, a song like the sun, a song that, Usa, personality of Godhead, Daha, myself, Aham, I, Asmi, and. O my Lord, O primeval philosopher, maintainer of the universe, O regulating principle, destination of the pure devotees, well-wisher of the progenitors of mankind, please remove the effulgence of your transcendental rays so that I can see your form of bliss. You are the eternal supreme personality of Godhead, like unto the sun, as am I. Please repeat, O my Lord, O primeval philosopher, maintainer of the universe, O regulating principle, destination of the pure devotees, well-wisher of the progenitors of mankind, please remove the effulgence of your transcendental rays so that I can see your form of bliss. You are the eternal supreme personality of God, like unto the sun, as am I. So there is the word rupam, or form, in this world, in this verse. Rupam. Let's see, mantra 16. We'll have to start it. Mantra 16. Up. That's mantra 16. Good. Yeah, get it on the screen. In the purport, it's the overview. So the word rupam. So the Isopanisad is closely moving to a personal understanding of the absolute truth. Rupam is not metaphorical here, because the devotee wants to see the form. So this mantra is an example of Asintya Veda in action. That Asintya Veda, inconceivable oneness and difference. Asintya Veda Veda. Tattva. So there's a personal and an impersonal aspect of the Supreme Lord. There's this personal and impersonal aspect in the Upanishads. Both are there. If we want to honestly represent the Upanishad, then we have to see that what the Upanishads are saying, and not only a part that is in agreement with our philosophy. That's what the impersonalists usually do. How can the impersonal and the personal be reconciled? This can be reconciled by Lord Chaitanya's Asintya Veda Veda Tattva philosophy. So Srila Prabhupada refers in the purport of this verse at the end refers to qualitative oneness. We will look at it. So this is on the screen. We have. This is the purport of Prabhupada. It speaks about you are Rashmin, beyond Brahman is Bhagavan. Kalyana Tama. Bhagavan is the most auspicious realization, the highest. And Pushan, how the Lord maintains the devotees and everyone else and everything else. So Amasmi, how the living entity is one yet different from the Lord, one in quality, not in quantity. The favor of the Lord sought by this prayer is fulfilled in pure devotional service. So Prabhupada discusses these points one after another. So the favor of the Lord is Kalyama. The favor of the Lord is fulfilled in pure devotional service. We will come to that a little later. So we see if you are Rashmin beyond Bhagavan, Brahman is Bhagavan. For Vaishnavas, the highest truth is Bhagavan, and the impersonalists, they have only an incomplete understanding of the realization of the absolute truth. Impersonalists think that Brahman is higher than Bhagavan. This is not the conclusion of the scriptures. Bhagavad Gita 14:28, Brahmani Pratishtanim, I am the foundation of Brahman. If we compare the two, then the conception of impersonalist seems to be intellectually appealing, no form, no personality, oneness, but it strips the absolute truth of personal qualities. The absolute truth loses all emotional appeal. That is why that even within impersonalists, they practice Bhakti, but with another goal. But devotional service is, we will learn 9.2 Bhagavad Gita, Susukam Avyayam, happy and imperishable. So Bhagavan is Kalyanatama. He is the supreme realization. Those who go to Brahman cannot be fully satisfied because there is no reciprocation. The hearts are longing for love, but it is completely satisfied. So the Lord helps devotees by bestowing His grace. It enables the devotees to make rapid advancement. We are falling in a well. We need a rope to get out of the well. We cannot make spiritual advancement based on our material concoctions. The bhaktas, they hold the rope and beg the Lord, please pull me up, pull me up. The impersonalist holds onto the rope and try to climb on their own powers and do not ask the Lord for help. It is possible, but it's very difficult. Bhakti is easy. It's Sulabha Parta. Krishna says to Arjuna, Sulabha, I'm easily obtainable for my devotee who surrenders unto me. The devotee who attains him, the Mahatmas to Mamparta, Devim Bhakti. Krishna is referring to devotees here, Mahatmas. Before Krishna, in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he speaks about Baunam Gyanmanamte, about Jnanis who become devotees finally, if they are fortunate, after many lifetimes, realizing Krishna is the Supreme Lord. So the process becomes very difficult, but by the misconceptions. How does the mercy of the Lord come to us? There is knowledge that Krishna gives us to the heart. There is taste Krishna gives. He gives us mercy. Knowledge, yeah, it gives us the knowledge. Don't engage in sense gratification. It gives us the taste. It's not easy to rise to the spiritual level, no, not just climbing down the mind or becoming detached. One must act on the spiritual level, really. If one wants to be happy, one must act as a spirit soul, as a servant of Krishna. Only then we can experience the spiritual level and get taste. So beyond knowledge and taste, there is mercy or grace. Just engaging in devotional service gives some taste. It can subside the miseries of material existence. By chanting, it will bring one to goodness. Even mechanical chanting brings one's benefit. The Lord helps his devotees by bestowing his mercy. We get moments of realization, ecstasy, sometimes overflooded with happiness. So Shiva Goswami explains Bhagavan. Bhaga. Ba has two meanings. One who fully maintains, and guardian means a guide, a leader, a creator. So here, Shiva Goswami is given a different explanation of Bhagavan than usually Parasara Muni with 6 opulences. It's one who maintains and guides, one who resides in, everything resides in him, and at the same time he resides in everything because he enters everything as the super soul. That these are the meanings of Shiva Goswami, of Bhagavan. Yeah. Now, yes. Of course, that's Soham to dasoham. That is a favorite quote by the Mayavadis. One has to move from the Soham realization to the dasoham realization. The scriptures explain that the Lord is infinite and we are finite. That means we are different. If one practices spiritual life to understand the highest truth, then one can rise to the platform of dasoham. I'm a servant. That Soham does the jnani realization. I'm Brahman. That is their eureka moment. It's a brilliant realization. And one forgets everything else. But it is an incomplete realization. Dasoham is required. I'm a servant of the Lord. Jnana. Yeah. So here you have, according to the Durgam Sangramani Tika, Jnana refers to Atma Jnana, Ishvara Jnana, and Aiktava Jnana. So Jnana can refer to 3 things that yeah, these 3 things that knowledge of the soul, knowledge of the Supreme Lord, Aiktava Jnana, don't remember right now, that I think that's knowledge to merge with the Supreme Brahman. But what kind of knowledge do we need in Bhakti? That so is Jnana knowledge? Is it favorable or unfavorable. That jnana alone, knowledge alone, this jnana of Brahman, I'm Brahman, I'm not this body, is not sufficient. This knowledge of the jnanis, it denies our eternal relationship of bhakti. It's hardening the heart. Give up sense gratification and everything in this world. You must become, heart becomes hard. And what is their destination? Merging with Brahman, it's the end. So that's not favorable for bhakti. Unfavorable. So it's practical. This knowledge of the jnana is unfavorable for bhakti. We need anukul, favorable knowledge. Favorable knowledge for bhakti. So what can be anukul to bhakti? That's first, this is the unfavorable knowledge of the jnanis, and the word is 3, Atma Jnana. Yeah. Anyway, this from the Durgama Sankamani Tika is the impersonalist, the jnanis sources. So they are into oneness that denies the eternality of bhakti. If one becomes one, then what is the use of serving? It becomes unnecessary. Then go to heaven is a better destination, but for a devotee to lose bhakti is the greatest disaster. Hardening the heart in every single action by the start, from the start onwards, one has to become detached. One focuses, I'm not a body. The devotee is sick, the person prays to the devotee that is not a body. If someone is sick, then it's one's responsibility to rise from the illness. For practicing bhakti, we must have a soft heart to our devotees. Merging means the end of bhakti. So that's why the devotee gives up the urge to merge. That is hell for the devotee. Merging is hell, giving up your individuality. But it cannot be given up as a reality. But what is favorable? What kind of jnana is favorable for bhakti? I think that's the last point we will discuss. That when the soul is accepted as a part and parcel of Krishna, that increases bhakti. Krishna says 15:7, Mamaivam Suchiveda Jiva Buddha Sanatana. All the living entities are my part and parcels, eternally separated part and parcels, eternally separated. Cannot be merged, cannot merge, eternally separated, Krishna said. Sanatana. So application of this principle is we must act as a part and parcels of Krishna. So if we engage in bhakti, it stabilizes the mind's restlessness. Yes?
How can it be possible when all these understanding that jnana is a part and parcel of God? How it can be possible because the aim is to come to the Brahman?
But now
I'm sorry.
Now I'm speaking about what's favorable for bhakti. I finished speaking about the impersonalist. That was the previous one. I'm speaking only about bhakti now. So the goal of jnana in bhakti is then and we are speaking about the role of knowledge in Bhakti. Then before I spoke about the goal of knowledge for impersonalists, and that's not favorable for us. But that's favorable. The goal of jnana in Bhakti is appreciation of the glories of the Lord. The Lord is wonderful and I want to love him. Srila Prabhupada emphasizes philosophical knowledge. He stressed that one must go beyond the bodily conception. They are not going beyond the bodily conception. That because they are still impure. They are going beyond the bodily conception means realizing who I am. I'm not his body, I'm a servant of Krishna. But they have, impersonalists have only the first part. I'm not his body. So, and then the realization of the devotees dasoham, but impersonalists are not coming to dasoham. That's a complete realization. I'm a servant of Krishna. The favor of the Lord is fulfilled in pure devotional service. The Lord can only be known to whom he favors. That if we have the purport of 16, verse 16, the three last lines. As stated in the Katha Upanishad, the Lord can be known only by those whom he favors, and not by anyone else. Such special favors are bestowed upon his pure devotees only. Sri Isopanisad thus points to the favor of the Lord, which is beyond the purview of the Brahma Jyoti. So the Brahma Jyoti alone cannot bless anyone. One cannot fall in love with the sky. We want love. That's what the soul wants. And we get that love by the practice of Bhakti. Now, in this verse, we conclude with discussing the point of Bhakti is the best process. How do we get the benefits of Bhakti? Chanting is a prayer. Please engage us in your service. But simultaneously, we pray for purification. When Krishna manifests himself as the holy name and by chanting the names clearly. The chanting is a prayer. And at the same time, the fulfillment of the prayer. Lord Krishna dances on our tongue when we serve him, when we chant. But we need to realize it, that's all. And a young girl in America came to Prabhupada and said, when I chant, I see light in my head. Srila Prabhupada replied, continue chanting, it will go away. We do not only pray to the Lord, but we also receive the response of the Lord. So miracles are not a criteria. These are not a criteria for spiritual advancement. The chanting is a serious purification. The mercy is engagement in devotional service. How are you protected by Maya? Generally, it happens to Krishna's grace. It pulls us out of the well. We do not have to expect supernatural realization. We need a simply understanding. We perform devotional service and then Lord Krishna, help me advance in devotional service. When we render devotional service, we are accepting the mercy of the Lord. The mercy of the Lord, that's the aspect discussed here. So we have 3 minutes for questions. And at the back then.
Regarding chapter 15 in the mantra 15, it says in the Sanskrit, Higanya Maya Hatmaya. So that's in the word by word, it's by gold effulgence, by dazzling clothing. And then Prabhupada, he translated into your real face is covered by dazzling effulgence. So golden, he chose not to include in the translation.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be covered by your dazzling golden effulgence. And why did he choose to remove it?
that, but it's the detail, the essence is effulgence, and the color is golden. And he doesn't mention the color first. That's okay. That if we buy a brown bread, and we are going to eat brown bread, and I say, give me the bread, then yeah, it's brown, yes. I guess. Yeah.
Also, thank you very much for the lecture. And for me, it's somehow very abstract, this topic about Brahman, because I cannot see where the light is or where, yeah, how to apply or
Just remember the following, that Krishna is present everywhere in the world, in every atom. You cannot see it, right? There are two reasons. There are two coverings between us, our seeing, and Krishna. That's the ignorance that covers our consciousness. There's a material covering. But then you have also a spiritual covering. And we have to go to remove both coverings. The first covering we have to remove by purify our heart for most of the part. And then by the mercy of Krishna, we will start to perceive him in this world, not with pure material eyes. With spiritual vision, you will see that you will, when you see Krishna acting in this world, you know that Krishna is doing everything. I'm speaking now, Krishna is speaking through me as a super soul. But I desire what to speak. But I desire to speak, of course, but Krishna gives. But he moves the hand, he makes my heart beat, and so on. That's really becoming conscious of a reality. You are not under control of your heartbeat, of what you will, or the capability you will manifest. So it's a gradual development of consciousness. We have to come from Manamaya, the mental platform, to Vijnanamoya, to spiritual understanding. From Vijnanamoya, we have to come to Anandamoya. But Anandamoya, you can, between Vijnanamoya and Anandamoya, are discoveries. We must remove.
this spiritual coming.
Spiritual coverings. There's a material and a spiritual covering. Yeah. So that is what. So we have to go beyond Brahman. And we have to go beyond the Brahman conception. We have to go beyond the realization that I'm not a body. I'm a spirit soul. That's not sufficient, really realizing that you are a spirit soul. If you are realizing that you are a spirit soul, that is Brahman realization. Then you are not suffering anymore. But that's not sufficient. You have to go beyond it and acting as a soul. And that's devotional service. When you are liberated and you act as devotional service, then you find Krishna in your heart at a certain moment, and you start to see Krishna everywhere. And then you are beyond these coverings. So that's the point. Yes, Brahman realization is not sufficient. That's going beyond the material covering. But then you have to go beyond the spiritual covering, and that's by serving Krishna, by his mercy, because these are the higher stages of devotional service. if some of us in some lifetime get to that point, you will have that realization. But it's only by Krishna's mercy, the higher. The lower also, but in the lower stages, to remove the material covering, we must do our part. And Krishna gives his mercy. But we need to learn to pray for Krishna's mercy. That's what we learn today. Yes?
I'd like to ask you, because before we started more the questions, before the sentence.
Yeah.
I lost the last part. Maybe you can, when you remind, maybe you can repeat this. Remember, when we perform devotional service and someone with Krishna's mercy something. When we perform devotional service.
When we perform devotional service, we are appealing for Krishna's mercy. When we chant Hare Krishna mantra, we want to connect with Krishna and we pray for his mercy. It's a prayer for mercy at the same time. Therefore, this prayer should be done in a helpless condition. As a child prays, a child cries for the mother. It's this helpless condition. Yes, you had also a question. Yeah.
What factors is this mercy depending on? What is our part?
Our part is doing our sadhana on behalf of the spiritual master. Chanting, hearing, serving Krishna 24 hours on instruction of the spiritual master, following the process of sadhana, Vaidhi sadhana, Bhakti. You will learn what Vaidhi sadhana, Bhakti means in the nectar of devotion, Mother Damodar Priya. She will explain you in detail. And that is our side. And if we do our side, Krishna will do his side. And by his mercy, we will make spiritual advancement. Now, Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Maharaj said that act in a way that Krishna sees you. Act in a way that everything depends on you in your service to Krishna, knowing that nothing depends on you, but on Krishna. That's what we have to learn. Yes?
I'm sorry if I may ask. Our movement is called really Radha Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada wanted to avoid the name of Radha. He was speaking about Ashinta Vela Vela Tapa, that we are the same, with not in quantity but qualitative. What qualities are these? Or one?
We are qualitative one. Krishna is Satchidananda. Our spirit soul is Satchidananda.
That Satchidananda is qualities or energies?
Satchidananda is Krishna's spiritual substance, what is made of. That although there is no creation on the spiritual platform, but we are of the same quality. We are a small part of it, but of the same quality. But we are minute and we have the tendency to be covered by Krishna's energy. We must be covered. We are always controlled of Krishna's energy. That either we are controlled by the material energy or the spiritual energy. But if we are controlled by the spiritual energy, we have much more freedom. And Krishna has his energy, and energy means Radha. So Krishna, we can never see Krishna without his energy. The Shaktiman and the Shakti are always connected. So therefore, we must always be aware that we are under Krishna's energy. And it's Srimati Radharani who controls the energies. So without the mercy of Srimati Radharani, we cannot come to Krishna. And the mercy of Srimati Radharani, the spiritual master is representing the mercy of Srimati Radharani. Therefore, we should always kindly please the spiritual master. Yeah. Yes. That's it. Thank you. Then we see each other for the last two verses in